that we are seeing a domino effect on Mint Street. Look at the rupee and the dollar and how it's trading and the spike that you've seen over there. Dr. Pronab Sen now joining us to talk more about this. Thank you. Good afternoon for joining us here on ET Now. Dr. Sen, there's a big story breaking on ET Now. How we likely to see 30 to 40,000 crore rupees of dividend payout by the Reserve Bank of India to the Central Exchequer ahead of schedule. Usually you see it in July. It's going to happen before the budget. It should take care of a lot of the problems for the Central Exchequer. What do you make of this move?
You know, frankly, I think it's perfectly okay. The government is under pressure and under a lot of pressure to keep the fiscal deficit within target. And there's nothing intrinsically wrong with what has been done. The adjustments will be made in due course. So this is the new version of the old, pushing back expenditures to the following year. This is just the other face of the same behavior. But there's nothing intrinsically wrong with it.
You don't find anything intrinsically wrong with this? That's the rupee for you at 69.69 at the moment. I'm going to now invite the other two experts we have. And Dr. Sen, please hang in with us. H.R. Khan, the former RBI Deputy Governor, as well as another former Deputy RBI Governor, R. Gandhi. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. If I could come to you first, Mr. Khan. Dividend payout, 30 to 40,000 crore rupees this month ahead of the budget speech, unlike what you normally see is being paid out in July. We have seen this as a major flashpoint between the RBI and the government when Urjit Patel was the governor. There is a capital transfer framework that has been set up to deal with the surplus cash and reserves that are with the Reserve Bank of India. Would you say this is good news for India? It's good news for the fisc. It's good news for managing the economy and the revenue deficit. What are your views?
Has it been announced or this is only an intention? Hello?
This is their intention. This is source-based information that we at ET Now. Mr. Khan, this is source-based information. It has not been announced.
Oh no, what I have to quickly add, I'll quickly add a couple of points. You know, last time also interim dividend was given to the government before the financial year closing. Normally the dividend is paid after the annual closing, which happened sometime in July, and normally in the August meeting of the board, the accounts are approved. Then in the third or fourth week of the August, the dividends is transferred to the government and a press release is to that extent. But last year we started the practice of giving interim dividend. I think this year probably they are formalizing that what they have done last year. And earlier, I believe last year there was no formal half-yearly closing of the books of accounts of RBI. There is no provision. I think there is some arrangement for half-yearly closing of the books of the RBI, and there will be auditors will review those accounts, and based on that, whatever they have realized for the first 6 months, probably they will transfer to the government. This is not directly related to the committee you are referring to, the Capital Adequacy Committee under Dr. Jalan, because this is only continuation and formalization of what was done last year. So whether they should use the stock to transfer to the government or they'll use contingency to transfer, and what is the formula for current year surplus to be transferred, that they will decide. I think the interim, whatever surplus is arrived at the end of the 6 years, duly audited by the auditors, a full or part of it they will transfer as an interim dividend. I think that's my understanding. And I think that should help government's fiscal math for the financial year. Yeah.
Mr. Gandhi, do you agree with what Mr. Khan has said? He's, of course, also a former RBI Deputy Governor. We have Dr. Pronab Sen also right here on ET Now talking about how this is a good thing, it's not bad, there's nothing wrong with it. What are your views?
I fully agree with Mr. Khan, what he mentioned, Professor Sen also, in the sense that just as sometime expenditures get to postpone to the next year, here revenue is trying to get preponed into the current year. Interim dividend in per se may not be anything wrong, but certain principles and traditions which we had that to force the Reserve Bank to pay out interim dividend, that doesn't look nice. But technically, there is nothing wrong. I won't consider it as anything wrong there. I'm
going to invite our consulting editor, in-house expert, Maithili Busarmat. Thank you, Maithili, for joining us. 30 to 40,000 crore rupees interim dividend coming ahead of schedule. Usually it happens in July. You're going to see it before budget. Would you say that this is perhaps what is also needed, because if you've advanced the budget date, why not advance the news flow from the RBI as well?
Well, that would not be the correct reading, Nayantara, for the simple reason that the Reserve Bank of India's accounting year goes on till June, whereas the fiscal year for the government ends in March. So that is not really quite the reason why this makes sense. But as both Mr. Khan and Gandhi has said, when the government is strapped for funds, there is no harm in an interim dividend. And here I disagree slightly with Gandhi, because he said the RBI being forced. Now, I don't think it's a question of being forced. It's just that the RBI being pragmatic, gives the interim dividend before the end of the financial year or gives it later. So I don't think it's a question of being forced. It's just the RBI being a little bit more pragmatic and willing to look at, see eye to eye with the government. Unlike earlier, when the RBI was sitting on its high horse and saying, no, we will not do it. Of course, so last year also, it had transferred an interim dividend of 10,000 crores. So I see no harm in it, particularly at a time when government's GST revenues have been falling short of budget estimates. I see no harm at all in this.
You're seeing the rupee weaken against, as this story has broken from 69.69, is currently at 69.76 since ET now broke this story. Dr. Sen, I'd like to come back to you. You're saying there's nothing wrong with this. All the experts that we have on the channel have said that. But what do you make of the timing? It is happening after, there's been a change of guard at the RBI. It's happening even as a committee has been set up to deal with the flashpoint that we had seen, and that's to do with the transfer of the surplus that lies with the Reserve Bank of India. Or would you say that ignore all of this, instead look at the larger picture, look at the economy and look at what it might do for the balance sheet and the fisc at large?
Well, I think what Maithili said actually sums it up. To my mind, this is symbolic of a degree of pragmatism in the RBI which we haven't seen in several years. And what you're doing in effect is diffusing what will otherwise look like a looming crisis. And I think it's a good thing to do. If anything, this should actually hearten the markets, in the sense that the likelihood of the government and the RBI continuing to be at loggerheads, I think now goes down quite significantly.
Okay, I'd like to thank each and every one of my experts for joining us here